Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. And today I get to sit with my buddy, Curt Swindoll, who is a certified EOS implementer. And also, one of the things he said off camera, seeking to do more of my life with God and to become an integrated implementer, Curt, welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here, Johnny.
Yeah, it's being with you, man. It does feel like church, man. We've had some great conversation. went way longer than we were supposed to off camera, and I love it. So what does it mean to be an integrated implementer?
Well, as a son of God, as a child of God, I believe that work is a principal place for a formed life. I think it's a principal place God uses to form us more in His image. Why? I mean, some people would say, well, I thought that's what church is about, right? Or, that's what's supposed to happen at home or something like that. We spend so many hours in the workplace that I think there are ample opportunities, numerous invitations God is constantly issuing to us to do that work with Him. And ultimately, that's what He's, I think, after. He's after a relationship with Him where we are doing all of life, not certain activities, all activities, all of life, all relationships with Him. And I would distinguish that from for Him. I think for Him is a different deal. I think there's a lot of people that think when they accepted Christ, they were inscripted into God's army. Now their job is to figure out what it means to be a, corporal or a captain or a general. And I don't think that is what the invitation is. I think God is saying, let's just do life together. Let's just walk together. Yeah. And when we do that, that's what I mean by integrated. So I don't have to worry about, should we be doing God work or should we be doing vision work? Should we be doing God work or should we be looking at our numbers? What if we looked at our numbers with God? What if we evaluated our vision with God, right? There you go.
Yes. I love it. Integrated implementer, which means even as your profession is implementing the entrepreneurial operating system, EOS, into organizations and also nonprofits, so both for-profit and nonprofit.
Right.
But your approach is, but how do we do this in a with God way?
Right? I've had clients where we've stopped in the middle of the day and said, I think we need to pray about this conversation and about the decision that we're making here, right? And I think that's important work, and I'm glad we did that. And I think that is a valuable thing to do at times. I want, as Brother Lawrence would say, practicing the presence of God. How are we doing the dishes with God, right? How are we setting the table with God? How are we having this conversation with God? So we're not just having a conversation when we pray, we're having a conversation with God. With this right here, Johnny, you and I hope we're having this conversation that we are practicing the presence of God, that He is present. He's the third window here, right? He's got a seat at the table. He occupies it. He doesn't just kind of step in and out when He's not busy. He's present with us. So how does that influence the conversation that we're having?
Yes.
It's hard.
And how does that influence you?
Right? That's hard, man. That is hard. That's a lifelong job to figure out how you do that. How I talk to another person and at the same time have a mindfulness that God is present in this conversation, that He has a will and a way and a direction that He wants this conversation to go. And how am I being mindful of that even as we engage in conversation with each other?
Man.
That's integrated.
I love
it. That's hard. I think that's hard work.
Integrating it.
Yeah.
So much of it comes down to the peace of God for me. You know, like if you were to ask me, and I've said this before, if you were to ask me, like, what is your favorite? Me personally, what's my personal favorite? I'm an Enneagram 9. I'm a peacemaker. What's my personal favorite gift of God? It is his peace, right? It is peace with God. It is knowing that I am walking in his favor. I am walking in his love. He sees me as his son.
Yeah.
We're at peace. We're not at war with each other, right? So much of that integrated life for me looks like, am I at peace with God right now? So that I can so I can invite other people into peace, because I can't if I'm not, right? I think that's a big part.
If you look at what's the alternative to that, right? Anxiety. What's the opposite of that sense of being at ease? Fear, turmoil, right? Those are awful, awful feelings that grip us too much of the time. And so what motivates me to live more of my life integrated? That I get to live certainly more of my life with God. So, and that's a cool place to be, right?
Yes.
But with that comes a sense of that peace that you're talking about. Man, the moment I start feeling anxiety, my wife's professor in school, she has her master's degree in spiritual formation. He calls that the idiot light on the dashboard.
Yeah.
That's the red light on the dashboard going off saying, hey, dude, anxiety. And that's the invitation to say, what am I holding on to? What am I not giving, like, open-handed, right? Because the more I can really enter into conversations, engagements, and all of that, open to what God wants to do, trusting that even if this conversation doesn't go maybe the way I had hoped or something like that, God's still king. He's still my friend. He'll still care for me. He's my good shepherd. I shall not want. I'm okay. So I can enter into these conversations. I can be passionate about things and all of that, and I am. But at the end of the day, I can be at peace. I think you're on it, man. That's a great feeling.
I love it, man. And I'm going to underline what you said also. You said that anxiety is your invitation.
Yes.
Right? Your anxiety is your invitation. And I'm going to insert a word there. Anxiety is your invitation into curiosity. Why am I anxious? What am I holding on to? What am I believing that's not true?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and through that curiosity, it's an invitation into intimacy and presence. Right? Where the Bible tells me that's where fullness of joy is.
Okay, so there are several things that I think are worth. I'm just making a quick note because I don't want to forget. I don't want to forget something here. I think you're gonna like this here.
Sure.
Hopefully, listeners will like this, right? So what you're talking about is reflection, living a reflective life.
Yeah.
You got people listening to this. That is a frightening feeling to them. Reflection.
Yeah. Yes.
That sounds like I've got to sit in the quiet and all that. Yeah. In EOS, Gino Wickman, our founder, calls it a clarity break. Gino didn't necessarily know what he was talking about in this, but for a lot of believers that are implementing EOS, a clarity break is an extended conversation with God.
Yes.
It's an extended opportunity for reflection. Lord, what are you bringing up in my heart that I'm just not paying attention to? What have I been ignoring here? What am I trying to hold on to that I'm trying to make my own way? You know, I'm trying to get what's mine. I'm trying to get the upper hand. I'm trying to get a better outcome. And it can even be for my family. It can even be for my church. Like it can be, it can have a wonderful purpose to it, but I'm making my own way at the end of the day. So first point, are we living a reflective life? If you're not, God continues to stand at the door and knock. Second,
there we go. Preach
Here
it.
we go. You ready for this? So I've been saying this to my
Yeah.
I've been saying this to my clients lately. Growth requires leadership. Leadership requires thinking. Thinking requires time. Growth requires leadership. Leadership requires thinking, because leadership is predominantly a thinking activity, not a doing activity.
Yeah.
Leadership, and I know we
Yeah.
should be, servant leaders and all that. I get all that. I get that. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
thinking that goes into being an effective leader, and that thinking is going to require time. Are we taking the time we need to do the thinking we need to do to be the leaders we need to be to create the growth that we would love to create in our organizations? And a whole bunch of that time isn't just about identifying our priorities and am I focused and all those kinds of things, right? It's about being reflective. So that's how these things all come
Yes, sir.
full circle for me in this.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
think?
I love it. I think you're 100% right. And I think,
Yeah.
and I understand why it's hard. Like time, reflective time. Some of us are more bent that way, and some of
Yeah.
us are less bent that way.
It's true.
But all of us need
Yes.
some of this. All
Yes,
of
we
us
do.
need some of this. All of
A
us
regular
need
rhythm
a clarity
of
break.
it is what I say. So whether it's an
Yeah.
hour a week, 2 hours
Yeah.
every other week, half a day a month, it's not time to get caught up on emails. It's not time to return a phone call or listen to my voicemail or, it's
Right.
not time to do work. It's time to sit down
Right.
with a blank sheet of paper and say, all right, God,
Yep.
I'm here. What do we need to talk about, right? I had one leader who did that exercise, Johnny. He said, I didn't stop writing till I'd filled 3 notebook pages.
Wow. Of course.
That
he
that
needed
is a
it. He was due. He was
whole
due.
lot of stuff circling around in the noggin and no place to land, right? So there's
Yep.
so much good that comes from this, but it will be the first thing that most of your podcastees here give up
Yep.
because they're too busy.
Yep. That's right. And you got to fight for it, man. You got to fight for it. I'm going to give people a tool here. I have a friend named Alan Briggs who speaks on this a lot. He is actually a sabbatical coach. And so he helps coach people into and through sabbatical. Master of just reflective disciplines. So look him up, buy his books. Alan Briggs, great man of God. Love this man and personal mentor. Shout out to you, my friend.
Ruth
So
Haley
that's
Barton
one thing
wrote.
I was going to say.
Ruth Haley Barton. You mentioned the word sabbatical. She wrote in her book. I forget which one it is. She said, "When we refuse to take a sabbatical, sickness becomes our sabbatical."
Yeah. he would be pumping his fist right now. Alan would be pumping his fist right now. 'Cause, yes, you're 100% right.
When we fail to
And
take
the secular world is actually starting to.
So God's kind of saying, I'm giving you an option, but the day may come where it's not going to be an option.
Yeah.
I really am jealous
man.
for time
So
with
we
you.
need to take those moments.
I'm jealous for time with you.
Yeah.
I don't want people doing it out of a fear. Well, I don't want to get sick or something, right? I want them to rush
No.
toward the arms and the aura and the presence of God, because there we find wisdom and perspective. We find that peace that you were talking about and so many other things. So, all right.
Yeah.
What else we need to talk
funny.
about?
I'm sorry. I have to stay here for a second because I was just talking to my daughter about this. I have a 14-year-old daughter, and I'm trying to teach her and guide her and lead her into the life with God, right? Life with God.
Yep.
And she's asking, we're talking at the breakfast table, and I told her, because my daughter loves me, man. My 14-year-old daughter, like, she is a daddy's girl. She loves me. She loves to spend time with me.
Wow,
I
great.
love to spend time with her.
Wow.
And I was like, that's a good pattern for you, right? For understanding your relationship with your heavenly dad.
It
right?
sure does. Yeah, it's exactly right.
How can you, part of the we have a good relationship, but part of it's because we spend time together.
Right.
We spend time together.
Right.
And that's how we learn to know each other and love each other. And I'm like, so whatever way that is for you, it won't be the same as it is for me, but whatever way that is for you, you've got to find your ways to spend your time with your dad.
Yeah.
Right. And that is one of the most important things you need to know in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Psychologists call this attachment and an attunement. Attachment and attunement. I'm attuned to you right now. I'm listening to you. I am not distracted. I'm not doing this. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure, Johnny. Yeah. None of that business. Yeah. I'm attached and attuned to you. So I tell my clients, put all your technology away, bring the gift of your presence, your full presence to everybody around this table, right? Attachment and attunement. And that, I think, is what God is jealous for as well. But for some people, that's a fearful place because their experience maybe with their earthly father was not what your daughter is experiencing. Dad was distracted. Yes. Dad was mean. He was vengeful. Dad always made something my fault. Dad always, that kind of a thing. And so we have attributed those characteristics that we experienced of our earthly father to our heavenly father. And he's just not like that, right? But that's what we're afraid of. If I get time alone with God, he's going to show me everything that's wrong in my life. It's that kind of a thing. Yeah. Because maybe that's what we've experienced in the past, right? And so I just, I'll give God a chance. Let's get to know who God really is, not who we're afraid he is. It'll make us more open, I think, to taking the time we need to do to be reflective, to be the leaders that we need to be, to ultimately experience both the personal and the professional growth that we would love to experience.
I love it, man. Now, what would you say to the person who's in that space that you're speaking to right now, which is like, okay, that space with God doesn't sound like a safe space for me. This actually sounds like a burden and a heavy lift. This scares me. This makes me anxious. Yeah. Right. Like how would you guide that person to their next right step?
Yeah. Well, we need to come to a right understanding of who God really is. And to do that, we've got to go back to Scripture, and I think we have to take a fresh look at things like the Garden of Eden, what really happened in the fall and things like that. My wife, I mentioned her a few minutes ago. She's written a number of small group resources that actually help small groups do exactly that. So she takes us into Scripture. She takes a fresh look at the Garden of Eden. I had a pastor friend of mine say, I got to tell you something, Curt. I've read Genesis 200 times. Maybe more. I didn't think there was anything else I could learn about Genesis. She's pointing stuff out left and right that I never saw before, I never thought about before, I never realized before. So I think we need to take a fresh look at what Scripture really says about who God really is. And graftedlife.org is their website, and they offer a number of resources, in particular their Life with God series that helps small groups learn and then have some interaction around these things so that we have an opportunity to really process this and understand it maybe in a deeper way. And we've seen it do life-changing, transformative stuff. It's pretty cool. So anyway,
good, man.
That
what's
would
your
be
wife's
what
name?
I would recommend. What's that?
Yeah. What's your wife's name for people who want to look her up?
Debbie Swindoll is who she is. Yeah. We started Grafted Life about 15 years ago, and man, it's been a labor of love. Because I think there are a lot of churches out there that are just kind of looking for where's the fill in the blank thing, because they see formation by information as the principal tool, And I don't believe that transformation happens through information. I think it's an important part of the process. We can't change if we don't have some idea of what we got to change, what we're changing to, right? So I believe that information is important. It's just not the only thing. So we need engagement with other believers.
You would probably say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Test our ideas,
Presence,
all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. Reflection, presence. There are other things besides just the information.
For sure.
That lead to the transformation, which is what we want to see.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is good. Curt. I am enjoying this thoroughly. So I want to hear a little bit about, so part of who you serve in your role as an integrated implementer, you serve nonprofits.
I do.
And so you have a heart for nonprofits, and I'd like you to talk us through a little bit about how you came to have that heart for nonprofits and the book that's coming, as far as you can tell us right now.
Yeah, I never expected that a decent part of my career would be spent in nonprofits. Nobody grows up thinking, I think I'll be a fundraiser when I grow up, right? We want to be a policeman or a fireman or something like this, Maybe we want to run a business or something like that. But nobody says, I think I'll raise money, or, I think I'll try to solve one of the world's hardest problems when I grow up or something like that. So I got in it a bit by accident. My parents were in ministry, and I joined their radio ministry years ago. So I was involved first from a technology standpoint, did some fundraising work there, eventually moved into a COO kind of a role. And I found that was fun. It was engaging and one of the most enjoyable experiences of my whole career was working in that nonprofit environment. People that worked with me would say the same thing, that we just had a lot of fun in doing that. But I've worked in and out of the for-profit, nonprofit space through my career, in and out of different verticals and all that kind of stuff. Worked in energy, banking, professional services, consulting, nonprofit work, just a bunch of different stuff like that. So honestly, when I became an EOS implementer, I looked at my network, and it consisted of a bunch of nonprofit relationships, leaders of nonprofits and the like. And I thought, I'm kind of intrigued by complex challenges. And one of those challenges is, how do we make something designed for-profit entities work in a nonprofit environment? And I thought, I think I could do a good job of that. So I was granted that grace and opportunity by a number of clients that are in nonprofit environments, and I worked to make the adjustments I needed to make EOS make sense in those environments. So there would be things that wouldn't throw them off and all of that. I had one of my clients actually asked me one day, Johnny, was EOS written for nonprofits? And that told me, I think we've been pretty successful here at making this translation, because it felt like a real natural fit for them. So that's what the book is ultimately going to be about. How do we take some of the pain points that nonprofits have and use some of the tools and principles, disciplines of EOS to help address some of those challenges? So
yeah. And then can you and who else is working on it with you?
Joel Swanson is I think another guy you've interviewed on your podcast. Joel is a great friend. He's an expert implementer. He's been doing this over 10 years. If you go to the EOS Worldwide website, Joel's in the picture on the homepage. I said, how do you get that? How do you get that gig, Joel? And Joel's a humble guy.
Good visibility.
I have no idea, right? But of all of the 850 implementers around the world, Joel is the one that they feature on the homepage of EOS, worldwide. And the other author is Jay Streer, and Jay's a great Jewish friend in Colorado, another implementer, and I'm getting to know more and more. 25-year history in higher ed, huge experience. I've already leveraged him in some of the higher ed work that I've done to, give me some perspective on some things there. So all three of us really have a passion for helping nonprofits use the tools and disciplines of EOS more effectively.
What do you hope to accomplish ultimately with the book?
Well, I think it's that. I think we want nonprofits to amplify their impact through these disciplines and tools that can create clarity, focus, accountability, and discipline. And, kind of the byline on my business card is to make work fun again.
Yeah.
We're just so serious about so much, right? How do we make work fun again? In my 40-year career, I've had that one experience at my dad's nonprofit radio ministry where I just had more fun. I think I've done good work and I've had great colleagues and all in other environments and other situations. But that one situation, we had 100 people who had my back and I had theirs. We had 100 people who were the right people that were in the right seats. We had 100 people that operated from a place of love and not fear. Yeah. And I ran from meeting to meeting. I did. And that convinced me work can be good and effective and be a joy. And so I want our nonprofit environments to be a place where work is fun again, where leadership is fun again. It doesn't mean it's easy, but they can be places of incredible joy and excitement, satisfaction, deep abiding satisfaction and all. I think if you talk to a number of my clients, they would go, I think EOS is helping us to kind of get closer to that ideal and that goal, and ultimately then to amplify the impact of the work that we're trying to do in this world. So that's what I hope it does.
I love it, man. There's a couple of things here. One thing is, it reminds me of some of what I'm seeing. There's a nonprofit out there called The Salvation Poem. Have you heard of them?
I don't think I have. Poem, did you say?
They're releasing The Salvation Poem is the name of the nonprofit.
Oh, okay.
And they're releasing a movie, like in theaters. It's called Light of the World, and it's the story of Jesus told from the perspective of John. But they hired a bunch of old school Disney creators, and so this is in the high quality, high fidelity Disney style, right? Like the actual hand drawn style of Prince of Egypt and movies like that. And so anyway, they're just having fun. Like, you watch them, man, they're just having fun. You can tell, dude. They're just loving life. So shout out to them. I like to put them out in the world and more people to be aware of the beautiful artistic work that they're doing. But very fun, The Salvation Poem. And then I also want to talk about you a little bit, Curt. You are a bit of a paradox to me, which is cool. It's really cool. So you took the Superpower Quest assessment, and you came out as an core drive of order, right? So the 3 core drives are order, progress, harmony. The highest one for you is order. And then you came out as an organizer leader. So organizer leader, meaning you have this incredible, and that is a classic COO gifting, right? You have this drive and ability to set things in order, both through in the systematic and process efficiency way, in the structural way, and then also in the leader, in the human resource, giving clarity to humans to rally around, and to get them in the right direction. Now, on paper, you're the kind of person that can tend to roll over people, right? On paper. My experience of you is very different from that. Yeah. Right? What I experience in your presence and in your spirit is this desire for fun and this ability to love and this desire for peace and this reflectiveness and this passion for people and their well-being, right? How? How did that all come together in your life?
Yeah, so it's really funny. I just had a Neil Diamond song pop into my head when you said, take you back to a cotton field in the heart of Louisiana. A little story about a boy 9 years old singing songs in the heat of the day. It's an old, that's a deep cut of Neil Diamond right there, right? I feel like that's what I want to do. So I'm going to take you back to 2010. I left a job. I've done this 3 times in my career. I left a job not knowing what I was going to go to. Yeah. So that probably by definition makes me an entrepreneur. A little wacky, right?
Yeah, a little crazy.
I did that. I came to the conclusion that where I was not where I wanted to be working, which, by the way, I would encourage many of those that are watching this, listening to this, to be evaluating the loss of time and life in organizations that are just not where they're going to thrive. And that was the situation I was in. I wasn't going to thrive. And I came to that realization for reasons I won't get into. And my wife said to me, so my wife was in graduate school. One of the graduation requirements was for students to engage in an extended like sabbatical, in an extended experience and time with God. And many of them chose to do that by going to a retreat. An extended retreat is what the requirement was. And many of them did that by going to a retreat center up in the Puget Sound, up in the Seattle area, for 3 weeks of silence and solitude. And there's a therapist up there that walks with you through that. And I would listen to her talk about the experiences of some of her classmates. She wouldn't share details and names and all of that. That was confidential. But she would just say over and over again how extraordinary this extended retreat was for them, how life-changing it was. And I said to her, this was 6 years earlier, if I ever had 3 weeks available, I'd do something like that. So here I was coming home a little earlier than usual. And Debbie said, hey, Curt, remember 6 years ago when you said you would do that extended retreat? I wonder if she's got a steel trap for a mind. She's just, And so I thought, oh my goodness, she's right. Like I have the time, like right now. And so I called him. He said he didn't have any space available. He was booked up for the next year and a half. And I said, I gotta figure out what I need to do before then. And like a day or two later, he called me back and he said, I just had a cancellation. Can you get here Saturday?
Wow.
So I knew before the phone call was up where I was going to be that Saturday. And I got a plane ticket. I flew up and I spent 3 weeks with God and with a therapist every morning. And God showed up in a rich and real and very life-changing, kind of transformational way for me. And I would call that the beginning of my adult journey, the true beginning of it. Not just like when I turned 18, but when I truly began to say, all right, what does living an integrated life with God really look like and entail? I began the pursuit of that, I think in a more significant way. So for me, that was the pivot point where the integrated Curt started really getting work.
Yeah. And the integrated Curt is not just order and systems and leadership and accountability, but also peace and joy and love.
It is.
And people thriving around you.
Yeah,
man.
It is. I mean, I believe in the mission of many of these organizations and their purpose and their cause and their passion. And I know that they're important. But if you believe that the principal purpose of work is formation, then I think we have to put that at the top of the list. I think we have to ask, I wonder what God's doing in this situation. I wonder if he's opening us up, So I think that the way I marry these two things together, because that was your question, right? How can I be a guy of order and integration and implementation, right? And hopefully be a people God too. And I think the answer to that is love, Johnny, and how we define what love is.
Yeah.
And we don't define love by always saying the easy thing. We don't define love by continuing to employ people who aren't performing well, because we know that inviting them to go somewhere else is going to be a painful experience, a hard experience for them. And so we don't want to do that. That's not loving. So I don't think that that's how we define love. I think we define love the way Jesus, how am I open? How am I honest? How do we attack problems and not people? How do we realize that God has our colleagues in the center of his hand? He will care for them. How do we make decisions that really are for the greater good of the organization that we're here to serve, that employ us?
Yeah.
Right? And I tell my clients, I'm gonna create a high bar on this. If I asked you, am I operating in the greater good of this organization? You would say, of course I am. And I say, do you ever go home and talk to your mate about something that you did not talk to your colleague about? I don't think that's operating for the greater good of the organization. How are we practicing openness and honesty? How are we saying the hard thing? How are we making tough decisions? Yeah. How are we trusting God through those decisions? Yeah. Right? It's all of those kinds of things. So I believe we can hold these two things equally: care for others, love for others, and care for the organization, care for the cause that God has placed on our hearts, and we can bring these two things together. It's not easy. It's not easy, but I absolutely think it can be done. Jesus showed it can be done over and over. He said the hard thing, Hey, any of you without sin, go ahead, cast that first rock. Get out of here. Yeah. Woman, go and sin no more. Right?
Yeah.
So he can confront it and yet be loving. He can be empathetic and yet honest. He can be all of these things together. That's how.
Yeah.
So, and I'm learning.
Yeah.
This is so where are we now? 2025. So I'm 15 years into this journey. I'll be journeying for the rest of my life. I'm on the road, Johnny. I'm on the road. But Debbie says, I don't care where you are on the road, you just better be on it. Yes. You gotta be working the program. You just gotta be at least work the program, right? We can mess up, but we gotta be working the program. And that's me. I'll mess up, but at my heart, I want to be working the program. I want to be continually pursuing an integrated life that I'm doing with God, doing good work with my clients. I care for them very much. I think that is part of it. We say in EOS, you can be a great leader, not if you have a certain kind of personality. We say you can be a great leader if two things are present. You truly love your people, and you want to get a little bit better.
Yep.
Every day.
Yep.
And that's me. That's me.
Yeah. That's those are some really, really powerful principles. And just all of that, man. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you for sharing the journey that you're on. Thank you for inviting other people into the journey. Yeah. I've got one last question for you before we close. What is your dream? What is something that you're hoping to accomplish in the world through the efforts that you're putting in? Well,
I would say I'd love to play the electric bass on a Dream Theater album, but I'm not going to go there. That would take us down a very different road, right? Um,
Okay.
yeah. So I think I mean I would love to see our nonprofit take off. I would love to see churches embrace a more holistic view of discipleship, um, and leverage these incredible tools that Grafted Life has created to help their congregations and their small groups go places they just never imagined. So I think that would be
Yeah.
part of it. I so I'm the son of a prolific father. He wrote 60 books. He was on 2,000 radio stations at one point. He's around the world, all that kind of stuff, right? So one of the things I kind of have had to grapple with in my adult life is I'm not one of those guys that think I will succeed him and pass him up or something. Like you know that idea.
Yep.
One of the drivers that
Yeah.
kids have is the sense that we will somehow exceed what our parents accomplished, right? I have no illusion. So for me, it's not any longer, it was at one point, it's no longer about, doing something unique in this world. Instead, I think it is showing up every day a little more integrated and helping my clients implement EOS in a more integrated way and in a more complete way every day. It's just it's little shots, right?
Yep. Yep.
It's just it's
Yep.
just it's showing up, and I'm okay. I'm really satisfied with that.
Yep. Yep. That's a beautiful,
I don't.
beautiful answer.
I mean, I could tell you, I'd love to work with 100 organizations, and I'd love to influence 1,000 leaders and those kinds of things. And I mean, at some level, those things are out there. But at the end of the day, that day, it's about being with the client. Whether it's 2 people in the room or 10 people in the room, and it's doing good work, and having them leave at the end of the day going like, I think I understand a little bit more about EOS. I think I got a little bit more clarity. Man, you gave me a tool here that is going to be really helpful in some relational stuff we're working on here, and I got a plan for the next quarter.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think we can do great things
Yes.
if we can get a bunch of singles quarter by quarter by quarter by quarter, and I think we'll win the game, batting a bunch of singles and doubles. And so I'm really happy to do that kind of work with them. I want to run a marathon with them. I don't want to run a sprint. I want to run.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. Yes. Yep. I see it, man. And
You know?
and I hear even the echo of something that you said earlier, which is, you had this amazing experience in your life, working with the radio show and your dad, and you it was fun, and you were enjoying it, and that's a gift that I can see you want to give to other organizations that are doing good work in the
It
world.
happened to me once in
Right.
40 years. Dude. Once in 40 years.
Yeah.
One time in 40 years. This isn't the norm.
Yeah.
So what I help my clients say pursue is, I want that to be your experience right here. But we're going to have to prioritize our people issues.
Yes.
We're going to have to address those things. We're going to have to make some tough decisions.
Yes.
We're going to have to get some focus on some things.
Yes.
There's a whole lot. We got to start speaking one language. There's a bunch of stuff, but we're going to get there. And eventually it's going to be muscle memory. You won't even be thinking that there's an EOS. It's just like, oh, this is just how we operate.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm helping my clients get closer and closer to experiencing every day. That is my passion. Man, I've cried with my clients more times than I can count, because I just feel deeply about this. I care about this so much.
Yes.
So,
Yes. And that is a wonderful place to end, man, because
Thank you.
that's the passion
Yeah.
articulated very clearly, seen. I can see it in you. I can feel it coming from you, man, and it is beautiful. So
Thank you.
So thank you, Curt, for hanging out today.
My privilege, man. I've loved the conversation. I hope this is helpful in some way to folks, challenging them to others. You know, there's a book on this with God life that some of your folks might find interesting, by Skye Jethani. Skye Jethani wrote a simple little book called With. If they're wanting to understand more about how is the with God life different than like the for God life, we kind of referred to that earlier on, right? Read that book. That book will open their eyes, as it has for a lot of my friends. Oh my God. And I think that will begin to create a hunger for, I wonder if there's more to this Christian life than I thought.
Yeah. So good, man. So good. All right, y'all got to check out the book. And then I'll actually link to that in the story that accompanies this episode. Cool. And everybody that stayed with us up to this point, thank you so much for being with us today. It was an absolute joy. And we'll check you next time. Take it easy, everybody.
Make work fun again.